Have you ever opened your heart to someone, shared your fears, your dreams, your struggles, only to be met with silence? Or worse, betrayal? It's one of the hardest lessons life teaches us. Not everyone deserves access to your inner world. And sometimes the more they know about you, the more power they have over you. That's why perception isn't just something that happens by accident. It's a weapon, a shield, a strategy. And if you don't shape how others see you, they'll shape it for you. We live in a world obsessed with being real, with keeping it 100%. But here's a hard truth from both the Stoics and the realists like Machiavelli. Not everyone deserves your full truth. Not because you're fake, but because your peace is sacred. And peace must be protected. Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor and Stoic philosopher, ruled an empire while journaling quietly about virtue, pain, and patience. He didn't rant to his court about his struggles. He didn't bleed in front of every audience. He endured, he reflected, and he controlled what others could perceive. Why? Because perception is power. Think about the strongest people you've known. Not the loudest, not the flashiest. The strongest. They're composed, measured. You never quite know what they're thinking. You respect them, and maybe even fear crossing them. That's the essence of Stoic mastery. It's not about being emotionless, it's about emotional discipline. And part of that discipline is deciding who gets to see what side of you. So here's a question worth asking yourself. What would your life look like if you stopped oversharing and started observing? What if you walked into rooms and let your silence speak louder than your words? This isn't about playing games. This is about wisdom. Machiavelli once wrote that a leader must appear strong, even if he has doubts, because perception stabilizes the kingdom. And guess what? Your life is your kingdom. Your inner world is your empire. And not every visitor should be handed the keys. The modern world will try to convince you that openness equals strength. And yes, vulnerability has its place with the right people. But the Stoic reminds us, speak little, observe much, protect your energy. Guard your presence like a rare gem, because in a noisy world, mystery becomes a form of influence. Here's what's wild. When you become intentional about how others perceive you, when you're calm under pressure, unshaken by drama, selective with your words, people start to listen more, they start to wonder more. And ironically, they respect you more. You don't need to explain yourself to everyone. You don't need to correct every misunderstanding. Sometimes letting people misjudge you is the most Stoic move of all, because you know who you are. And that inner certainty, that's unshakable. So the next time you feel the urge to clear the air, to make sure people know the real you, pause, ask yourself, is this clarity worth my peace? Or is my silence the better answer? Your perception is your power. Use it wisely. Let it speak when words fall short. Let it protect what you're building. Let it guard your peace in a world that constantly tries to invade it. Remember, not everyone needs to know your next move, and that might just be your greatest strength. Rule 1. Control your image. Let me ask you something. When people look at you, what do they really see? Not your heart, not your intentions, just your image, the version of you they think they understand. And here's the cold truth. The world doesn't respond to your reality. It responds to your presentation. Machiavelli understood this. So did the Stoics. And whether you're leading a nation, a team, or simply trying to navigate your own life with dignity, there's one lesson that echoes through the ages. Control your image, or someone else will use it against you. Let's be real. We all have moments of fear, insecurity, frustration. That's being human. But broadcasting those raw emotions to the world, that's not bravery. That's exposure. And exposure invites harm. There's a difference between authenticity and vulnerability, between being honest and being unguarded. When you reveal your pain to the wrong people, you're not healing. you're handing them a weapon. Rule 2. Trust little, test often. Let's be honest. Most of the pain we carry doesn't come from our enemies. It comes from the people we let in. Not the stranger on the street, but the friend we confided in, the partner we believed in, the colleague we trusted. And that's why this next rule is hard, but necessary. Trust little, test often. Now that might sound harsh in a world that celebrates giving people the benefit of the doubt. But what if that very habit is why you keep getting hurt? Machiavelli and the Stoics agreed on this. Trust should never be handed out freely. It must be earned through actions, over time, and under pressure. Because loyalty, it's easy when life is comfortable. But the moment circumstances shift, when money is involved or ego or pressure, that's when you see someone's true nature. Let me ask you, how many times have you shared something personal, and somehow it came back to you through the wrong person? That's not just gossip, that's a failed test. And here's the secret. You should have been testing all along, not with drama, not with traps, but with silent trials, controlled risks. Share a small detail, something harmless, and observe. Does it stay protected, or does it float through the room like smoke? If it spreads, you don't need to argue. You don't need to confront. You've already got your answer. That's wisdom. That's stoicism in action. You see, the Stoic doesn't assume someone is loyal just because they smile, just because they've been around, just because they say the right things. The Stoic observes, patiently, quietly, strategically, and over time, patterns emerge. Truth reveals itself not in promises but in behavior. This isn't about paranoia. It's about precision. One of the hardest truths to accept is this. Most people are loyal to their interests, not to you. They stick around when it benefits them, when the path is easy, when you're giving. But when the winds change, when you stop offering, when you need something in return, that's when their mask might slip. And if you've given them too much power, too much access, too much of you, that betrayal cuts deeper. So instead of being angry, be aware. Instead of reacting, adjust. You don't need to burn bridges. Just move the fences. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "When someone does wrong, it is not the act itself that harms you, it is your judgment of it." Betrayal hurts most when we thought we were safe. But the Stoic prepares for this possibility, not with cynicism, but with calm understanding. People will act in their own interest. That doesn't make them evil. It makes them human. Your job isn't to hate them. Your job is to filter them. So, how do you protect yourself? Start with slow trust. Give people chances to prove themselves, not with words, but with consistency. Don't overshare early. Don't overcommit quickly. Let time do the heavy lifting. Watch how they treat others when they don't need anything. Notice how they talk about people who aren't in the room. And above all, observe how they respond when you set boundaries, because that's when their true loyalty is revealed. You don't need to be cold. You just need to be clear. Not everyone deserves full access to your life. And that's not selfish, that's smart. Because when you trust slowly, test often, and respond with clarity instead of emotion, you stop being a victim. You start being a strategist. So the next time someone rushes into your life with warm smiles and easy promises, ask yourself, what have they shown me? Not just once, but consistently. What happens when I say no? When I stop giving? Because real loyalty isn't loud. It's proven, quietly, over time. Trust little, test often, and never assume. That's how the Stoic avoids being blindsided. That's how you protect your peace without losing your heart. Machiavelli taught that power lies in being unreadable. Not because you're hiding, because you're protecting. And the Stoics agreed. Control what's within and show only what is useful. You see, when you walk into a room composed, calm, and collected, people take notice. You become magnetic, not because you're loud, but because you're centered. They wonder what's on your mind. What do you know that they don't? And in that space of uncertainty, you hold power. This isn't about being fake. It's about emotional discipline. It's about learning to carry your scars with strength, not wear them like open wounds. Because when you appear calm under pressure, you earn something few ever receive: respect. Let me give you an example. Imagine a leader who panics at every setback, who vents every doubt, every stress. Do you follow them into the storm? Probably not. Now imagine another. Quiet, firm, unshaken even when the world is burning. You don't know exactly how they feel, but you trust they'll handle it. That's what control of your image gives you. Trust, authority, resilience. I'm not telling you to bottle everything up. I'm telling you to choose wisely who gets access to your emotions. Share your struggles with those who've earned the right to hear them, not with crowds who simply crave drama. Emotional self-defense is real. It's not just about silence, it's about strategy. Ask yourself, does sharing this build connection, or does it expose a weakness that can be used against me? The wrong audience will turn your honesty into ammunition. The right audience will hold your truth with care. Know the difference. Now here's a powerful paradox. When people can't read you easily, they respect you more. Why? Because uncertainty creates presence. It makes you harder to predict and harder to manipulate. In a world where oversharing is the norm, self-possession becomes a form of rebellion and power. Machiavelli would call it strategy. The Stoics would call it wisdom. I call it peace. So, how do you start? First, pause before you speak. Is what you're about to share necessary, helpful, strategic? Second, observe before you reveal. Who's listening? Are they trustworthy or just curious? Third, practice composure. Not as a performance, but as a habit. Because when the storm comes, and it always does, your calm will be your armor. Remember this. People don't just judge your words. They feel your energy. And the more stable, focused, and self-assured you become, the less they'll look for cracks. Because they'll know you've already done the work. Internally, quietly. So be mysterious. Be disciplined. Be steady. Control your image, not to impress others, but to protect what truly matters: your energy, your focus, your peace. Rule 3. Command respect through strength, not kindness. Let me ask you a simple question. Do you want to be liked or respected? It sounds like an easy choice until life starts testing you. You see, we're raised to believe that kindness is the highest virtue, that being nice, being agreeable, being generous will earn us respect. But the truth is, being liked is not the same as being respected. And often the more you chase approval, the less people take you seriously. Think back on your life. How many times have you bent over backwards to be kind, only to be ignored? Or worse, taken for granted? That's not because kindness is weak. It's because kindness without strength becomes a target. People don't respect kindness when it's indiscriminate. They respect it when it's chosen, and that's the rule most never learn. Selective kindness is power. Universal kindness is vulnerability. Here's what Stoicism and Machiavellian thought both teach us. To truly command respect, you must first cultivate strength. But not loud, strength. Not domination or ego. I'm talking about quiet strength, the kind that doesn't need to prove itself, the kind that speaks in boundaries, not explanations, the kind that corrects once and then moves on, without arguing, without begging, without drama. Because people might dismiss words, but they remember silence backed by self-control. Let me tell you something counterintuitive. If your goal is to be respected, you need to stop trying to be understood by everyone. You don't owe endless explanations to people who've already decided not to listen. You don't need to defend your values to those who thrive on testing them. Correct once. State your truth once, then withdraw. Let your cold clarity speak for itself. Because nothing demands respect more than someone who doesn't need your validation. This doesn't mean you have to be cold-hearted. You can still be kind. In fact, kindness from someone strong carries more weight than kindness from someone desperate. Think about it. When someone powerful chooses to be kind, it feels like a gift. When someone needy does it, it feels like a plea. That's the difference. Intentional kindness is respected. Compulsive kindness is exploited. So if you want your kindness to matter, anchor it in strength. How do you build that strength? It starts with composure. When people test you, stay calm. When people gossip, say nothing. When you're provoked, pause. Because every time you react emotionally to prove your point, you lower your power. But every time you stay composed, you rise. People might not always agree with you, but if they know you won't be shaken, won't be guilted, won't be manipulated, that's when they start to respect you. And over time, that respect becomes your armor. Marcus Aurelius said, "The best revenge is to be unlike him who performed the injustice." That's not just stoic restraint. That's dominance through detachment. You don't gain power by yelling louder. You gain power by rising above the noise. By showing people, without a word, that their approval is not your oxygen. Because true confidence is not about proving anything. It's about knowing you don't have to. So if you're tired of being overlooked, if you feel like you're being too kind to people who don't value it, it's time to shift. Kindness isn't weakness, unless you give it away freely to those who haven't earned it. Start holding your energy like it's valuable. Because it is. Start treating your time, your attention, your approval like gold. Because that's how others will treat it too. Be kind. But be kind from a place of strength, not from a place of fear. Be calm. But let that calm come from confidence, not from avoidance. And most of all, be clear. Because in a world obsessed with being liked, cold clarity is unforgettable. Rule 4. Control the game. Master yourself. Influence the world. There's a rule most people never learn until it's too late. The moment you lose control of yourself, you lose control of the situation. In life, business, relationships, every environment is a battlefield of energy, and the one who stays centered commands the room. You don't win by overpowering others. You win by mastering yourself. We live in a world that constantly tries to provoke us. Tweets, comments, passive-aggressive remarks, unexpected betrayal, and when it hits, the first instinct is to react, to explain, to defend, to explode. But here's the truth. Every reaction is a reveal. Every time you lash out, they learn something about your triggers. Every time you argue, they map your weaknesses. But when you stay composed, when you choose stillness over reaction, you become unreadable. And unreadable is untouchable. Machiavelli knew this. The Stoics practiced it. They understood that composure isn't just personal virtue, it's strategic power. Because in every confrontation, there's more than words at play. There's dominance, framing, influence, and the person who sets the emotional tone, sets the rules of the game. Let me ask you, how many arguments have you walked into thinking you were defending your truth, but walked out feeling drained, disrespected, and misunderstood? It's because the moment you play someone else's emotional game, you hand them the controller, they pull a string, and you dance. That's not power. That's being played. But when you pause, when you observe, reflect, and respond only when it serves you, you shift the entire balance. Suddenly they're the one guessing. Don't engage in every debate. Not every insult deserves a rebuttal. Not every slight needs a speech. Sometimes the most devastating response is no response at all. Because silence destabilizes. It creates space for doubt. And that space, that's where your control expands. But, let's be clear, this isn't about being passive, it's about being precise. A Stoic doesn't suppress emotion. They command it, they don't avoid conflict, they choose when to act and when to wait. They strike only when the outcome is certain, and never when provoked. They don't fight battles for ego. They fight for effectiveness. That's what real power looks like. Not just knowing when to act, but knowing when to walk away. Let me tell you a secret. The person who speaks last, calmly, clearly, and without needing to be liked, often leaves the strongest impression. They don't flinch. They don't explain themselves over and over. They set the emotional bar that everyone else rises or falls to. That's self-mastery. And that's how you control the game. So how do you begin? Start by slowing down. When you feel the heat, rising in a conversation, don't respond right away. Breathe. Observe. Ask yourself, what outcome do I actually want here? Is this about truth or just pride? Is this worth your energy? Or are you being baited? Most provocations aren't meant to create clarity. They're traps, designed to make you surrender your power. Refuse. Let them wonder. Let them wait. Let your stillness unsettle them. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." The game of life is emotional chess, and the one who masters their mind commands the board. So don't just react, or you'll always play defense. Set the tempo, control the tone, lead with discipline, and watch as the world starts to move on your terms. Rule 5. Strike completely. Leave no room for revenge. There comes a moment in every person's life when the mask drops, when someone you trusted reveals their true nature. And in that moment, when betrayal hits you like a punch in the chest, you face a choice. Do you react with emotion or respond with power? Because here's the truth. If you don't end it completely, it will come back. We've all been there. You catch someone lying, manipulating, disrespecting your boundaries. Maybe it's a friend, maybe it's family, maybe it's someone you gave everything to, and your first instinct? To be merciful, to give one more chance, to explain, to fix. But you need to hear this. Mercy without wisdom is not virtue, it's weakness. Machiavelli said, "Injuries must be inflicted all at once so there is no fear of retaliation." And the Stoics, they would agree. True strength lies in calm finality. Because when betrayal is clear, when someone shows you who they are, the most dangerous thing you can do is leave the door half open. Half forgiveness leads to repeat offenses. Half boundaries get walked over. Half decisions keep you stuck in the same pain. Let me ask you something. How many times have you said, "This is the last time," and then gave them another? How many warnings did you give before realizing they weren't listening? They never were. Because some people don't hear words, they hear consequences, and that's why Rule 5 is simple. Strike completely. Don't revisit. Don't explain. Don't warn. Just end it, with clarity and silence. This doesn't mean lashing out. It doesn't mean vengeance, it means removal. Calm, final, unapologetic. Remove your energy. Remove access. Remove explanations. Because true power doesn't need a loud goodbye. It just disappears and never returns. Stoic wisdom tells us, the best revenge is to be unlike the person who wronged you. So don't lower yourself to pettiness. Don't waste energy trying to hurt them back. That's not strength, that's ego. Real strength is walking away so completely they don't even know where to find you. No fight, no drama. Just a cold reset of your life without them in it. People will call you harsh. They'll say you've changed. and you have. You've grown tired of cycles. You've outgrown pain disguised as loyalty. You've learned that closure is a self-given gift, not a group project. When you remove someone fully, something powerful happens. You reclaim your peace, your clarity, your momentum, because your energy is no longer tangled in maybes and second chances. You're free to focus on the future without dead weight. So here's the Stoic path forward when you've been betrayed. Don't rant. Don't post. Don't beg to be understood. Just observe. And when the pattern is undeniable, end it. Not out of rage, but out of respect for yourself. Let your absence speak the lesson louder than your words ever could. Partial actions invite repeat pain. But decisive endings, they echo with strength. They leave no openings, no unfinished conversations, no false hope. Just silence, space, and the undeniable signal that you will not be crossed twice. So if someone has betrayed your trust, remember this. Don't wound and walk away. End it in a way that leaves no room for revenge. No revenge needed. Because you've already won the moment you moved on better and untouched. So after all of this, what does it come down to? Guard your loyalty and guard your peace. In a world that constantly tries to pull you in every direction, emotionally, mentally, spiritually, your peace becomes your most sacred possession. And the only way to protect it is through discipline, through clarity, through courage, through self-mastery. Let's go back to the beginning. We talked about perception, how the world responds not to your intentions, but to your image. And that's why controlling how you're seen isn't vanity, it's strategy. Because the moment you stop managing perception, you give others control of your narrative. And once they control your image, they start controlling your outcomes. So protect your presence. Don't give everyone full access. Let your stillness do the talking. Let your boundaries do the teaching. And then we dug deeper into trust. Rule 2 taught us, trust little, test often, because betrayal rarely comes from enemies. It comes from the people we let get too close, too soon. Don't hand your loyalty to just anyone. Observe, evaluate, be slow to open the gates, and wise enough to close them without guilt. That's not paranoia. That's Stoic preparation. Rule 3. Respect is not earned through kindness alone. You must be strong, composed, boundaried. Kindness without limits invites exploitation, but when kindness flows from strength, it carries power. Stop trying to be liked by everyone. Start standing so firmly in your values that people feel your presence, even when you say nothing. Then we explored control. Rule 4 was clear. Master yourself, and you influence the world. Every reaction, every emotional outburst, every argument, you either give away your power or you claim it. Don't fight every battle. Don't respond to every jab. Set the tone and let others adjust to you. That's how leaders move. That's how Stoics lead. And finally, Rule 5. When betrayal reveals itself, don't respond emotionally. Respond completely. Half measures leave room for return, for repeat offenses, for pain to circle back. Instead, respond with quiet finality. Remove, access, withdraw energy. End it once and for all. Not out of hate, but out of clarity. Because that's what strength looks like when it's fully grown, decisive, clean, and free. Here's the deeper truth behind all of these rules. Betrayal can't always be avoided, but suffering in the same way twice? That's optional. Stoicism doesn't promise a life without hardship, but it does promise this. You'll be ready. And that readiness, that calm inner force, that is what keeps your peace intact, even when the storm comes. So as you walk forward from this video, ask yourself, who has my loyalty? Have they earned it, Or have I just given it away? Am I controlling how I move through the world, or am I constantly reacting to it? Because when you begin to guard your energy, your trust, your boundaries, something incredible happens. You no longer just survive betrayal. You outgrow it. You build something stronger in its place: clarity, wisdom, and unshakable peace. If this message spoke to something inside you, stick around, because this is just the beginning. In the next episodes, we'll dive deeper into Stoic resilience, personal power, and the emotional tools most people never learn, but desperately need. So hit subscribe, join this journey, and let's keep building the mindset that nothing and no one can break. Your power begins the moment you stop giving it away. Let's take it back, together.